Our story today begins with a man named Harry, who is returning home with his personal secretary, Sarah. His kind wife, Young, is waiting for him, having prepared lunch. But as soon as they walk through the front door, Young is surprised and shocked to see her husband's assistant, Sarah, holding his hand quite boldly. As soon as they see Young standing in front of them, Sarah quickly lets go of his hand, looking nervous. However, because Young loves him and wants no trouble, she chooses to disbelieve her own eyes, telling herself it might just be a normal situation and a casual gesture. She goes over to welcome them and greets his assistant. Arrogant Sarah refuses to greet her back and looks at her with disdain because Young's wife was just cooking and smelled like food, something Sarah utterly detests. Yet Young doesn't let it upset her, takes the matter lightly, and naturally drops her hand. At that moment, however, her husband Harry and secretary Sarah start talking to each other in a foreign language other than their native tongue, assuming that his wife Young is uneducated, ignorant, and completely incapable of understanding them. Unfortunately, Harry does not know that his wife understands and speaks this language very well. She hears and listens as Sarah tells him she knows and is certain his intentions are bad and that he's up to no good bringing her here to his house right in front of his wife. Her scumbag husband replies, telling Sarah that she knows he loves her, loves his adventures with her, and cannot live without her. At that moment, his wife Young is shocked, realizing and confirming for certain that he is a cheating, lying person. Still, she keeps her composure, shows no reaction at all, and pretends not to understand anything. At lunch, his mother makes it very clear that she dislikes Young, completely ignoring her and talking exclusively to Sarah. She asks Sarah with great interest whether she has a boyfriend. Sarah replies hypocritically, saying she has no time for such things or for love, that she is always hard at work and overwhelmed, dedicating all her time solely to her career. She adds that she is not thinking about anything right now except helping Harry grow his business. At that moment, Harry smiles and announces that he has a big surprise for them. He will be traveling abroad for 2 years to work at the company's new branch, and he is taking his secretary Sarah with him on this mission because she is the only one who can help him with work and truly understands him. Naturally, Young is greatly surprised and asks him why he is telling them this so late, and how she, his wife, is not going to travel with him for these 2 years, while this strange secretary goes and stays by his side instead. He gives a false excuse, claiming the secretary will be useful for work abroad, whereas she, as a wife, surely has a more important role here, staying behind to look after his mother and sister, because he won't have peace of mind about them unless she is with them. Young refuses, stating she does not agree with what he is doing and that she has every right to travel with her husband. Because she leaves the food and gets up angrily, the discussion remains unresolved. When they all get up from lunch, Young overhears him talking to Sarah again in the same foreign language they used earlier. She hears Sarah say she is very afraid that their relationship will become official and come to light instead of them always hiding and being afraid of people. Harry reassures her, saying everything will be fine soon, and that the moment they travel abroad, everything will be good and they will get married. However, he emphasizes that they must keep it a secret from his wife Young for now, because she might cause trouble and ruin the good time they are going to spend these few days before traveling. As soon as they leave their house, Young begins to think about everything that has happened, telling herself with bitter grief that she has sacrificed many things, her career, her future, and her life over the past 5 years, just to serve and comfort him, and that she now must take revenge for her dignity and reclaim her rights. At night, she overhears him talking loudly on the phone, telling Sarah that she will wire her the amount she requested immediately. As soon as he leaves the phone on the bed and goes to the bathroom, she seizes the opportunity, searches his phone, and is shocked to discover that he has been sending huge sums of money behind her back to Sarah. At that moment, she transfers all those messages and transfers to a flash drive so she can prove the illicit relationship they've had all this time and expose them. Young goes to her old office and begins thinking to herself about everything wrong and suspicious that has been happening lately. With fierce determination, she resolves not to endure this situation anymore or accept humiliation. She calls her sister, telling her she is coming back to work with them at the company anew, and asks her sister to come to the office tomorrow so Young can take her shares in the company and manage them. When her sister hears this decision, she is overjoyed because she had always advised her to return to her career. Indeed, the next day Young goes to the office, meets her sister, and firmly states that she also wants to sell the big house they are currently living in. We learn that this house actually belongs to Young and is registered in her name. Her sister is surprised, pointing out that the house has an excellent location and great potential, and that several major investors have wanted to buy the place at any cost because of the vacant land surrounding it, which would allow them to build profitable projects. However, Young firmly insists that her lawyer must not leave a single legal loophole in the contract that would allow her scumbag husband to take any money from the house sale. Her sister, though not fully understanding what is happening or why she made such a sudden decision, promises to carry out her exact instructions, knowing her husband must have done something terrible for her to leave him and sell their house after 5 years of marriage. Young signs the transfer of ownership and shares, becoming once again one of the company's major senior executives. As she leaves the office, her annoying sister-in-law calls her rudely, shouting that she is a failure and irresponsible for leaving the house without cooking for them. Young doesn't reply, letting the girl rant as much as she wants, and hangs up right in her face. She goes to stay temporarily in a luxury hotel to rest. As soon as she enters the room, her sister calls to inform her that $10 million have just arrived in her account as a small starting sum to begin her life anew, since her sister knows that all of Young's money had been under her husband's control in recent times. Meanwhile, her mother-in-law and sister-in-law return home carrying many shopping bags from outside, exhausted. They are surprised because they are not used to Young failing to greet them or welcome them the moment they arrive. Her mother-in-law yells loudly, demanding she go to the kitchen and slice up some fruit for them quickly. Of course, Young doesn't reply or acknowledge them. Therefore, the daughter goes into Young's room to call her, only to find everything in disarray, the closets empty, and Young missing. Terrified, they rush to check if the gold and money are still there or if she stole them. They find the gold still in its place along with the Visa card, and say with relief that she turned out not to be a thief, which is the most important thing to them. Still, her mother-in-law is furious, boiling over the fact that she left the house without saying a word or asking permission. The daughter tells her mother that her sister-in-law has become very selfish and arrogant, and that they must call her to discipline her, otherwise they will never be able to control her again or make her obey. Thus, both of them go to Young's parents' house, starting to scream and shout loudly outside the building in front of the neighbors and townspeople, speaking terribly about Young. They claim she ran away from her husband's house like a thief, that they don't know where she is, and that her respectable parents surely wouldn't approve of such behavior from their daughter. Hearing the commotion, Young's panicked parents come down to see what is happening outside, only to find her mother-in-law causing a public spectacle. Her father defends his daughter, stating she is respectable and well-raised, and that what they are saying are lies and slander. Her mother is furious, realizing the mother-in-law is slandering her daughter. Terrified, her mother calls Young, asking her to come immediately because her mother-in-law is ruining everything and making a public scandal for them. Indeed, Young prepares herself to go to her parents and handle the issue. On her way, while driving, she talks on the phone with her lawyer to gather various documents that can expose her husband's family. Meanwhile, the family continues their fierce quarrel and shouting with her parents, to the point where the reckless sister-in-law almost raises her hand to strike Young's mother. At that exact moment, Young arrives, stepping in to block her and grabbing her hand. They insolently tell her she must have come to apologize for stealing their son's property and running away. Looking at them with strength, she replies that she sees no thieves here today except them and their scumbag son, who stole 5 years of her life. She pulls out bank statements proving that he transfers huge sums to his secretary while withholding money from his own household. The neighbors and bystanders start picking up the papers from the ground, reading them and feeling sympathetic as they realize Young truly lived a miserable and oppressed life, and that these proofs are more than enough to confirm his betrayal. Young tells her mother-in-law with confidence that she sees no reason to stay here and endure them any longer. Humiliated, the mother-in-law leaves, taking her daughter with her. Back home, the mother-in-law is furious, telling her daughter they must finish this matter quickly and break Young's spirit, noting that this girl is different from how weak she used to be. The daughter replies that her brother Harry will surely convince her to return as soon as he gets back from his trip, or at least punish and beat her, since he is the only one capable of doing that and controlling her. As they speak and plot, the door is banged on violently. When they open it, they find a strange man accompanied by numerous workers. He tells them he has come to empty the house and take possession of it. The woman curses him, calling him a lunatic who doesn't understand anything because this house belongs to her son Harry. He laughs, telling her that he bought this house with his own money from the owner, Young, and that she has just 10 minutes to gather whatever important things she needs and get out, because the house is going to be demolished today. The workers throw them out into the street. Unable to speak or stop them, and acting shamelessly, they decide to go talk to Young and force her to return home. They go to her hotel, calling out and shouting outside her room. She ignores them, refuses to open the door, and calls hotel security, asking them to come up immediately because she has a problem with disruptive people outside her room. When they keep knocking hysterically, Young opens the door and steps outside. Their mother-in-law calls her a swindler and a thief, accusing her of plotting craftily until her son left so she could sell their house and kick them out. Young tells them they are completely irrational and delusional, because they well know that everything, including their house, originally belongs to her, and she was only silent and enduring all these years purely out of love for Harry. Realizing she is losing ground and that Young is strong, the mother-in-law decides to throw herself on the ground, screaming and wailing loudly in hopes that a hotel guest might sympathize and rescue her from what is happening. She is shocked, however, when security arrives, sides with the righteous Young, and tells the mother-in-law that she is causing a disturbance and must be thrown out of the hotel. Meanwhile, the life of Harry's sister begins to unravel and collapse. One of the people she owes a lot of money to demands immediate repayment. When she tells him she cannot provide the funds right now and needs more time, he refuses sternly, threatening to throw her in prison if she pays late. Furthermore, when she goes to her boss to ask for an advance or money, he tells her he is firing her and filing a lawsuit because massive funds are missing and stolen from company accounts, and she was the sole accountant in charge. Bursting into tears and breaking down, she insists there must be some mistake and that she is innocent. Her boss tells her that the government and police will investigate and prove it, not him. Returning to her rented home, she sits terrified and horrified, not knowing what will happen to them, while even her mother is equally terrified. When her daughter's phone rings from an unknown number, the daughter tells her mother not to answer it, warning that they shouldn't deal with unknown numbers. When a text message arrives, the mother opens it to find it's from tax collectors demanding massive sums of money. Meanwhile, her son Harry is living abroad in luxury and bliss with his beloved Sarah. When they call him to rescue them, his mother tells him he is neglecting them, enjoying himself while they are thrown in the street, and that debt collectors are threatening them with murder while they don't know what to do in this disaster. The scumbag tells them he cannot help or send money right now, that they must handle things themselves and solve their own problems, reminding them he left plenty of money behind before he left and that they should be able to manage. He coldly adds that his sister is educated and can get any job to make money, firmly deciding he will never return to them and will live abroad instead. His sister remains miserable at home, terrified of creditors and thugs banging violently on the door. She sinks into a severe psychological state of panic, a fate she entirely deserves due to her greed. On the other side, we see Young going to the office with utter elegance and confidence. She meets the chairman of the board, King, who thanks her warmly for her return to a high leadership position in the company. She states she is ready for any challenge, presenting and discussing her brilliant business strategy with complete professionalism, a strategy designed to stop Harry in his tracks and ruin his business. Young explains her plan to King, acquiring small startup companies competing with Harry's firm and merging them into a single, powerful entity capable of pulling all important clients away from Harry. Her explanation is so convincing that King immediately agrees, granting her full authority to proceed. The impact of this project reaches Harry instantly. When he goes to his office, he finds the company's chief executive waiting for him, coldly telling him that he is fired and his contract is terminated. When he angrily demands to know why, she hands him a folder containing the bank transfers he made to Sarah, along with all his hidden corporate violations. He is utterly shocked to realize he has lost everything, his job, his money, and his career. Returning home, he finds his beloved Sarah packing her belongings and clothes into suitcases. Shocked, he asks her where she is going and what she is doing. She looks at him with utter contempt, telling him she won't stay with him a single minute now that he has lost everything, gone bankrupt, and can no longer support or spend on her. She tells him that because of him and his stupidity, all her bank cards have been frozen. Boldly mocking him, she says, "You're a cheating, disgusting monster who betrayed his wife, who stood by you and left her family, just for someone like me. Did you think I'd secure my future and stay with you while you're penniless? You deserve everything happening to you." With that, she walks out and leaves him. Harry is left sitting alone, broken, with no one by his side. Back with Young, we see her working actively and happily alongside King at the company. When she finishes work and heads downstairs, she finds her ex-husband Harry waiting for her outside. Angrily, he tells her he won't let her live her life peacefully after destroying his career and business once he found out she orchestrated everything to expose and ruin him. Acting brazenly, he claims he is entitled to half her money and assets since he is still her husband, demanding half the proceeds of the house she sold. Young strongly refuses, stating he won't get a single dollar since everything belonged to her from the beginning. When he grabs her arm violently, she pulls out her phone, films him, and threatens to have him imprisoned with that video, adding that she holds other documents ensuring he won't even be able to start a new business, keeping him permanently bankrupt. She warns him to back off before it's too late, as she is fully capable of destroying him further. Frightened by her threats, he decides to retreat for the moment, though he viciously vows to return and claim what he thinks is his. Later, Young is sitting in a cafe when Sarah appears. Falling to her knees before Young, Sarah cries crocodile tears, claiming she was wrong and begging Young to listen and give her a chance, insisting that Harry manipulated and played with her mind to keep her by his side. She claims that the wealth Harry showed off blinded her to the wrongfulness of her actions, but that she now realizes her mistake and will never repeat it with anyone. Young looks at her with utter contempt, stating that this is no excuse for betrayal and that Sarah deserves to regret the day she ever loved Harry, especially knowing he was a married man with a settled life. Sarah hypocritically claims she never thought that way, thinking Harry hated his wife because he constantly spoke terribly about her. Young dismisses all this cheap talk, telling her sternly that they will all face justice and pay the price. Elsewhere, Harry sits with his family in a rented apartment, demanding the money he supposedly left behind for them. His mother angrily calls him ungrateful and a scumbag for coming to demand money after abandoning them in a sea of debts following the collapse of their pretentious lifestyle. He tells them they must find a solution to this disaster instead of just arguing. As they bicker, a debt collector bangs violently on the door, warning them they have only one day left before he wipes out everyone inside the house and kills them. Inside, they are terrified, with the sister clinging to her mother and trying to blame her, until Harry intervenes to separate them. Right then, Harry receives a call from Sarah, hoping she wants to help and return to him. Instead, terrified, she tells him that Young's lawyer is threatening to jail her, and she refuses to go to prison for his sake. She demands he resolve these issues with his wife immediately, warning that if Young tries to harm her, she will go straight to the police station and confess everything against him, ensuring he goes down too. She hangs up on him, leaving him completely helpless as the disasters pile up. On the brighter side, we see the grand opening of Young's massive new project, alongside her partner King. She is radiant and successful, while everyone applauds the dazzling success she achieved in such a short time. Expressing her gratitude, she humbly remarks that this project belongs to everyone, not just her. Later, entering King's office, she confidently announces her resignation. Shocked, King asks why, noting she is at the peak of her productivity and success. She explains that she needs to launch her own independent business, but adds that she is reserving 20% of the shares for him so he remains a partner and supports her. He immediately agrees, signing the papers without hesitation. Afterward, she meets with her lawyer, learning that he has frozen all her ex-husband's bank accounts, ensuring Harry cannot touch any assets during this period, and confirming that Harry is officially drowning in debt and bankrupt. Young asks her lawyer to perform one final task before submitting the final documents to court, to call Harry and inform him of everything he has been stripped of. The lawyer calls Harry, informing him that he is legally barred from approaching Young or even walking down the same street as her. When Harry tries to pick a fight over the phone, the lawyer cuts him off, stating he has no time for nonsense and is merely delivering court orders. The next day, a depressed and helpless Harry sits on the couch, not knowing what to do, until his mother tells him he must act and find a solution quickly as the man of the house. His sister snaps back, telling his mother that he is no man, that she raised 2 girls instead of a son all these years, and that he can't even speak up. Harry goes to the lawyer's office to sign the required divorce papers. Before signing, he bitterly tells Young that she is harsh and heartless, and that she will surely regret what she is doing to him one day. Paying no attention to his words, Young signs with absolute confidence right after him, then walks out and leaves him behind. Still harboring malice and wanting revenge, Harry visits one of Young's business partners at a cafe, asking for a favor, not to hurt Young or the company, but just to teach her a lesson so she realizes she is nothing without him, asking for the exact value and number of her shares in exchange for reward. The partner politely declines and walks away. Refusing to leave her alone, Harry waits for Young outside her office, reminding her of their premarital agreement that in case of divorce, their wealth would be split 50-50. Looking at him with contempt, Young replies that such a promise was meant for a real man who protects her, not an immature, selfish boy who betrays her. A man she could rely on would get her everything, but he is nothing more than an insecure adolescent. When he tries to grab her, she pushes him away firmly. He cries that he was once her husband and might die because of debts, but she remains unmoved by his tears. At that exact moment, King arrives, coming to her rescue and ordering Harry to stay away. King tells Harry that if he ever bothers or harasses her on the street again, he will deal with him personally and put him in his place. Meanwhile, making one last desperate attempt, Harry goes to Sarah, pitching the idea of trying again and promising they can rebuild their fortunes. Sarah tells him to snap out of it and stay away, declaring she never wants to see him again. As a final resort, his mother waits for Young outside the office, using a hypocritical act to claim Harry is deathly ill in the hospital and begging to see her one last time before he dies. Young coldly replies that whether he lives or dies is completely irrelevant to her, warning that if any of them approach her again, she will immediately call the police. Finally, in a romantic garden setting outside the company, King proposes to Young. Overjoyed and knowing she has found someone who truly supports and loves her, she gladly accepts.